Hello and welcome to a new episode by the B2B Pod. I have the pleasure to host my guest for this episode, Sunita Hadani. She is the Managing Director of East West Advertising. The title of our episode is Marketing Perspectives from Corporate and Agency World.
Welcome to the B2B Pod by the Pulse of Dubai with your host, Radwa Hassan, a podcast that touches upon everything that's going on in and around the B2B industry.
Sunita is a contagious, can-do marketeer who helps organizations get more out of their marketing dollars. With over 22 years of tech marketing experience covering the diverse MENA region, her core strengths include building a marketing strategy that helps organizations build accountable marketing plans that serve existing markets and help penetrate new markets. She's passionate about changing people's mindset about the value marketing brings to an organization and demonstrating results. She's also known to be the heartbeat of the teams she works with.
Sunita is, I think, the best guest for such a topic because she has managed to be on the corporate side and on the agency world right now. And Sunita will be able to give us perspective on her two experiences from the corporate and the agency. So, welcome, Sunita, to our episode. Really happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Radwa. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to share my views personally, so because you and I have had such a long history together, working together, and also we've shared so many experiences. So it'll be nice to share our views with the audience today.
Thank you. You were an excellent partner in crime at some point in time. so, so our perspective today is the fact that there seems to be a permanent misalignment when it comes to the marketing teams in an organization. The marketing agencies that support these organizations, really. The marketeers have always expected high quality deliverables in the shortest time. Of course, being marketeers, you always rush through a deadline. Whereas agencies are operating a little bit in isolation because they have a different world and space. They are rushing through deadlines, of course, but maybe they would look at campaigns as a one tactic, one event, one deliverable without knowing the full picture. This, of course, has changed, and that's what we are going to talk about. This misalignment can be improved, definitely, and there are ways that it has worked for a few. Giving Sunita's unique perspective and experience, having served on the corporate teams of large companies and today runs a successful agency of her own, she'll be able to give us her point of view, how this has worked, or what was her perspective when she was in the marketeer seat and now on the agency side. So I'm going to start, Sunita, and ask you when you were in the marketeer seat, what was your experience with the agencies and the different challenges that you faced? What has changed now?
Radwa, a lot has changed now. As you can imagine, the marketplace has changed. The landscape of marketing in the Middle East, especially, has evolved immensely in the last 10 years. We, as marketing, when I was leading marketing in the different corporates, at the time, our marketing was seen as a cost center. Marketing departments had to justify their existence. They always had a tug of war relationship between sales and marketing. We had to kind of prove our value on daily basis. And the sales, it was the sales that predominantly owned the customer relationships and they drove the business. And then suddenly came the internet boom, what we call as the digital age. And with that, the role of the marketer changed. Our KPIs changed. A traditional marketer was forced to become the modern marketer, providing insights to the business. And today, as we all know, the modern customer makes 70% of its purchase decisions by researching online before they meet any vendor. So by the time the sales rep makes their first call or has the first meeting with the customer already has a very strong impression and opinion about the vendor. And that's where the role of the modern marketer comes, where we have to ensure that the target market has the right information 24 by 7. Marketing is now seen as an equal contributor to the growth of the business. Marketing also has a seat a firm seat with the C suite now. And the sales rely on marketing to build their target market. In fact, Gartner recently said that 80% of the B2B buyers and suppliers interactions are going to be on the digital channels by 2025. So agencies, with that comes the change of the role of the agencies. Agencies also have to transform themselves if they want to be in the long term, in the long innings, as they say. Agencies also have to shift gears. So today's agencies are not the traditional agencies that I used to deal with. Agencies were only bothered with doing tactical stuff. Today, the agencies are made responsible for the buyer's journey, for the customer experience. The vendors ask the agencies to be much more innovative and creative with their approach, such that when they go to market with them or with their brand, the first interaction the buyer has with the vendor's brand, it should be memorable, it should be unique, they should stand out. And anything that goes out from the agency on the behalf of the vendor must influence the purchase decision of their buyer. So today's agencies are involved in strategic thinking. The marketeers sit down and share their big vision, their challenges, and everything is planned with the end goal in mind. What is it that we want to achieve? And each deliverable should be well thought out, such that when it goes out, it has that impact. And today's marketeer is gold on every dollar that they spend. And agencies today are also given the pressure to ensure that the marketeers get the right ROI from their investment.
Yeah, certainly. The pressure on ROI has become even more because tactics and tools and competitiveness has become more aggressive. Between the different players in one industry, with new players coming up and rising every day, like you wake up one day and then you find a new competitor that was not on the radar before. And I see that a lot in the IT industry. So, new players, new competitors in the different markets. So, no one is immune really to strong competition coming on board, not like in the past. And the same for the agencies. Like, I honestly see that so many boutique agencies are doing much better than bigger agencies. And that's the challenge. So no one can say that they own the space or they can monopolize a certain industry or the skills and the expertise. Now, a marketeer can hire, for example, a freelancer. You have platforms like Fiverr, for example, where you can just like go on and you can find someone to do a job quickly for you. You just like pay it and that's it, you're done. Not like before. If you want to create an HTML, you would have to go to the agency or have someone in house. And even the in house skills can be built with the digital and with social. You can have that sorted out. So I think agencies definitely have a challenge and marketeers as well. And they need to come together. So if I ask you, now, being in the agency, on the agency side, you've seen the difference. What has opened your eyes to that difference of the perspective from the agency side back when you were a marketeer? So, definitely, it's a shift and an eye opener.
Yes, today's agencies, Radva, have to take a lot more onus. It can't be like the traditional old times where they do small deliverables and they've finished their job. Agencies have to be a lot more involved to be equal partners to the vendors. Also, understand the vendors' target market deeply, analyze the customer's buying behavior, the challenges, and then align their services accordingly. While Radva, you said that marketers have a lot more choice today, they can go to smaller agencies or freelancers, get their work done faster. But I think on the side of the marketeer, although that can happen, but if you invest in a relationship, you can rely on it in the long term and reap the benefits. The agency and the marketing relationship go a long way, and it is a two-way relationship. It is about investing that time and energy, building that relationship, building that trust, which eventually you get a lot out of in the long term.
That's excellent, like insights about the challenges on the agency side. And I really like your quote about customer is king, which is something that I know that you live by every day in your day-to-day practice and with your clients.
This show is brought to you by Logicron, a leading demand generation company, providing solutions and synchronizing all your B2B needs logically.
So, Sunita, now that your point of view has changed after moving from the corporate side to the agency side, how do you see the challenges that marketeers face? And how do you believe that the agencies can bring that comfort to the marketeers? With your team, for example, and they come to you and they tell you, oh, well, customer is rushing us for through a deadline, or they want this right now. How do you put yourself in the marketeer's seat and you tell them, well, maybe there is a strong or a difficult stakeholder on their side that they need to make happy, or that they need to cater for an urgent demand. So, how do you handle that with your teams, bringing your marketeer hat into the picture and you give them that different perspective?
Great question. And I really want the world to hear me today for this. Because as a marketeer, I know the pressures. I've been there on the other side. I know what we live by every day. I know you need to think ahead for your business. You need to be, in fact, 2 quarters ahead. You need to build that pipeline to ensure when the sales arrive in that quarter, they're ready to get going. And today's marketplace, especially on the demand, it's very demanding. It's very instant. Everything needs to be done yesterday. And especially in our marketplace, it's a very fast paced environment. And this is where I, as a marketeer, slash, I, as a agency owner, while I have the vision, sometimes to fulfill that vision, you need to have the right engine, the right team. And I really would love for the marketeers to hear sometimes the challenges that agencies face, which is if we can have a long term planning or at least some sort of timelines to be able to turn around those deliverables would be ideal, which we don't have. Everything was, whenever you speak to the customers, when was it needed? It's needed yesterday or 2 days ago. And sometimes agencies have been magicians for their customers to be able to
Yeah.
turn it around. And I see that our customers rely on us to do a good job, to shine in their jobs. And this is where me as an agency owner, I have to sit down with my team every day, help them prioritize, structure, make sure that sometimes they don't put themselves maybe in the marketeer's shoe of the pressures and deadlines that you have, and then we have to sometimes burn the midnight oil, but at the end it's all worth it when the marketeer comes up. It's the appreciation that we get from their customers that goes a long way. It becomes a very motivating factor to be able to perform the next time or the next day.
100%. I fully agree with you, and I really like your approach. And I know that you do it in reality. So it's not just you walk the walk and talk the talk. So if I ask you now, what would be your tips that you want to give first to the marketeers in order to work out this relationship really nicely and effectively? And secondly, to the agencies, and what you would give them as a tip to work out the relationship?
So to marketeers, really for me, it's they must understand that it's a two-way relationship. Take the time to invest the time in the relationship, build the trust. The agency can be a true partner. The agency can be a true team member. It can be extended team. The relationship will give you rewards. Once they know that they are being valued, then they'll do everything. They'll go beyond to ensure that your work is done in the most fantastic quality way. So, and for that to happen, the marketeers must have clear communication, consistent communication of their expectations, of their goals, provide feedback, have the time. It shouldn't be you invest enough time in coming with your deadlines, but once it's served, then there is no feedback mechanism of what worked, what didn't work, what should have gone better. Come back, give the feedback, invest in the relationship, build the trust. All of that will go a long way. It's like any other relationship. When we put the energy, it will come back. And then in terms of agencies, Radwa, I like your point of view a lot, where you said sometimes agencies get complacent. So, to the agencies, if they want to survive in the long term, my big advice would be don't take your customers for granted. Provide your unique value proposition. What is it that they will get from more from you than they would from if they went to another agency? What is your that unique factor? It could be, just honesty. It could be putting in the passion, the hard work, and do all of that. Because as you said, the marketplace has become much bigger now. Marketers don't have to rely on their existing agencies. They can go to, they have so many different ways to get their work out. So to ensure that you keep growing that business, definitely do not take the customer for granted. Put in the extra hard work, go the extra mile. It will reap rewards eventually.
Yes, I certainly agree with that, Sunita. And it is, again, a two-way. My word to the agencies would be that customers need to work on the relationship, but they certainly, in most situations, they have the upper hand because they can go to competitors and they're not going to be the ones compromising a lot. That's why agencies need to put also the effort in a relationship, which I know a lot of agencies try to do that. But really, now it's not about just nurturing the relation and bonding, but more of showing the value up and how you can make the marketeers you work with shine, look better, and succeed and create that win-win experience for their clients, for the marketeers clients, for their internal stakeholders, so you know that it's a 360-degree relationship. It's not a relationship with one person in an organization. And even in one of the episodes we were talking about how the agencies can create that connection internally in an organization with the different stakeholders. So it's a 360 and it has to work out on it's a multifaceted relationship, I would say.
I agree.
So thank you so much, Sunita, for coming to the show and for that great and engaging episode. Really happy to have you with us. And I hope our listeners really take notes, benefits from this episode. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Radwa. Thank you for having me. And I hope we talk again soon. Very interesting. Thank you for having me on the show.
And for our listeners from corporate or from the agency side, please share your views, share your experiences. Would be really happy to take them in and also share them maybe later with the listeners in a different episode. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the B2B Pod by the Pulse of Dubai with your host, Radwa Hassan. This show was brought to you by Logicron. If you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can visit us on thepodcast.ae and follow us on social media at the B2B Pod. See you next time.